everyone to another week of In Rhythm's Lightning Talks. Again, if this is your first time here, my name is Jen Crawford, and I have a pleasure of co-hosting this space. If you're new to Lightning Talks, each Thursday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern, you can feed your curiosity for technical knowledge by tuning in to learn from one of our amazing practice area consultants and grow with the phenomenal bar raisers that make up In Rhythm. This week, we have the privilege of hearing from our UX UI designer, Sam McNulty. She's going to walk us through the evolution of UX.
Hi everyone, I'm Samantha. If you don't know me already, you can call me Sam. I have been UX at UX UI for In Rhythm for 2.5 years now, and I look forward to teaching you maybe some new things for you tonight. So, why isn't it? Okay. So the overview of tonight is user experience can be seen throughout history and found in everyday things that aren't just on a website or app. Today, I will take you through some examples and proof that UX has been around for thousands of years. So we're going to start a really long time ago in 4000 BC with Feng Shui, as most of you know. I assume most people know what Feng Shui is. So it's all about arranging your surroundings in the most optimal and harmonious or user-friendly way, be it an office, bedroom, or entire building. Just like how a UX designer would arrange an app in a similar way that an interior designer would lay out a page for the user to easily navigate. So as you can see on the right, right for everyone, Feng Shui for the bedroom, as you can see, the bed where, is the primary need for a bedroom for sleeping is right in the middle, and then things are sporadically arranged around it to create an optimal user experience and nice space layout. Just like on a website, certain things are laid out a certain way, like a hero's at the top, and then the key information is right there, and then they continue down the page with the less important information toward the bottom. So, and then we're skipping ahead quite a bit to 500 BC. Back in the 5th century BC, Greek civilizations designed their tools and workplaces based on ergonomic principles. The definition of ergonomics is that the scientific discipline concerned with the understanding of interactions among humans and other elements of a system. Sounds a lot like UX. And the profession that applies theory, principles, data, and methods to design and optimize human well-being and overall system performance. So this is very similar to the way a surgeon's placement of tools described by Hippocrates, as they must be positioned in such a way as to not obstruct the surgeon and also to have each be within reach when required. So just like a UX designer thinks about how the user's needs are and where things need to be placed to make it an optimal experience, this is how the ancient Greek civilization would think of ergonomics. And we're skipping quite a lot to the early 1900s and talking about Frederick Winslow Taylor, a mechanical engineer and pioneer of Taylorism. Taylorism was quite controversial, but it's also considered scientific management in that we think about the mission to make human labor more efficient. Now, it was controversial in that he thought mostly about how the tools were used and not so much about the user using the tools. So it created some, conflict in that sense, but it does have the reminiscence of following UX principles when it comes to the way he focused on optimizing the relationship between humans and their tools. And of course, this happy cat working away. He does not look very happy, actually. And then we're skipping a little. He's like blip, 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 blip. Like, I feel like that would be my cat. The 1940s. So this is actually taking Taylorism into mind. That's what Toyota did, in that they continued to develop the idea of human-centered production systems. So unlike Taylorism, though, Toyota production system was based upon respect for people, and much attention was paid to creating the optimal working environment, which is really great to hear that they finally switched it around to make it where It's about how the user's experiences instead of so much about the tools themselves. So the human input is crucial though, like in UX design, for making the overall experience more efficient for the user and improve the process. This represents a key step in UX history, as it really brought attention to the importance of how humans interact with machines. No matter how advanced technology is, its value is limited to its usability. And that's exactly what UX design is all about. So also on the other side, you see the chart that they created to show the pillars of Toyota, I don't know why I said Taylor, Toyota production system. And I actually had to look this up because I didn't know what it meant either, but Jidoka, if most of you are like me and don't know what that means, it actually means automation, which also means intelligent automation or automation with a human touch. So that was something interesting that I learned in my research. Excuse me. Okay, and then in 1955, not too far in the future, this is the year that a key figure in the history of UX comes about, and his name is Henry Dreyfus. Dreyfus, however you want to pronounce it. And he designed many products that were used every day, from the tabletop telephone to the Hoover vacuum cleaner. He designed with the two principles in mind of common sense and scientific approach. And then in 1955, he wrote the book Designing for People. And a quote from that book is, "When the point of contact between the product and the people becomes a point of friction, then the designer has failed. On the other hand, if people are made safer, more comfortable, more eager to purchase, more efficient, or just plain happier by contact with the product, then the designer has succeeded." And this is something really important to think of as a UX designer as well, in that we want the user to keep coming back to our experience. We want them to keep using our products or our website or applications to help their lives be easier and maybe even have some fun. But these are things that a UX designer is always looking for to optimize the experience of any website or app. And then, of course, most people know who Walt Disney is, I would assume. So in 1966, Walt Disney was found as one of the first UX designers, as he was obsessed with making magical, immersive, and people-first user experiences at his parks. I would ask for a show of hands who has been to a Disney World or Disneyland resort. Yeah, I don't remember much. I was only 8 years old, so the fact that I still remember quite a bit from 21 years ago is quite a lot. So as you can see, Disney's, as they call them, Imagineers, which is their engineers, would take a walk in a park goer's shoes to see what their experience would be like, so that they could better know the audience and their wants. So they really took a step back and thought, what are users looking for? What are they wanting? And had people walk through the park, give their experiences, and even went through the parks themselves after they were built to see what they could improve. And Disney envisioned a place where the latest technology could be used to improve the lives of people, a vision that today's UX designers no doubt share. So as in my next slide, Disney was a UX design pioneer. I just love this little robot. So cute. And I love the guy hugging him. So he was a pioneer in that it's clearly shown in the way he introduced the Florida Project. There's actually a movie, I think, called The Florida Project that you could probably find on Netflix. To the world, it's a project that became Walt Disney Worlds. And at one point, Disney described the plan for the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, or Epcot, as a lot of people know it, as an experimental prototype that is always in the state of becoming, a place where the latest technology can be used to improve the lives of people. If that's not UX in a nutshell, I don't know what is, as I was saying before. And like a website with different landing pages, Disney had different lands to appeal to different people's needs, like from the Magic Kingdom to the Typhoon Lagoon to Hollywood Studios. He had lots of different places based on different users in case they didn't want to maybe go to one, they could go to another, and so on. And when the user has more options that have an experience tailored to their wants and interests, they are more likely to stay and enjoy the experience. And then we're going to skip forward a little to the 1970s and 80s. Xerox's Palo Alto Research Center, also known as PARC, had some of the most influential developments, such as the graphical user interface and the mouse. So here on the left, you can see the actual machine they originated, which, you know, if you look on the right, it's a little reminiscent of what's on the right. And so in 1984, the first Macintosh came out and introduced a graphical user interface, built-in screen, and a mouse. So that time period was booming, with computers becoming much more innovative and also more portable in a sense, because as you can see, the one on the right is much smaller, so it can fit in anyone's home. And in 1995, I don't know if most of you own this book. I have it in my living room. I should have brought it in here. Most designers have this book, and I think that everyone should have this book because it's very interesting. So Donald Norman, a cognitive scientist, joined the team at Apple in the early 90s. This is him going down a slide. I just really love this picture. Can't tell it's him, but when I was looking for pictures of him, I found it and I thought it was funny. In the early 90s as their user experience architect, making him the first person to have UX in his job title, which is so cool. I would love to pick his brain. He came up with the term user experience design as a way of encompassing all that UX is. As he explains, I invented the term because I thought human interface and usability were too narrow. I wanted to cover all aspects of the person's experience with a system, including industrial design, graphics, the interface, the physical interaction, and the manual. And so I'm going to give you a little background about what UX and UI is specifically and how they're different. I know most of you said you know what it is, but I like to break it down because a lot of people kind of mix them up sometimes. So UX is a constantly evolving art form that partners elegant layout and thinking with the psychology of a user's needs to make a flawless experience. So focusing on, as you can see in the image, wireframes and prototypes, information architecture, which is saying like the home page can also connect to the menu or the contact page or so on and so forth, to really give a layout of how the pages connect, as well as user research and scenarios like Cindy is coming in to look for a teapot. How is she going to get there? And how many clicks it's going to take for her to get there and have a seamless experience. So UI is the front side of the design though. So when it comes to color and imagery and typography, those little details are so important that it is its own thing in itself. It's not just UX, because, you know, if someone hates a color or a color is unfriendly, a user's unlikely to stay. And also if a color does not match enough to the point where the user can even read it, then they're not going to stay on the page either, because they're not going to be able to read like what they need or have a user accessible experience. So marrying these two together creates the flawless experience that helps a user have a seamless journey going from page to page or experience to experience. So overall, UX has constantly evolved from artificial intelligence to virtual reality to design without interface. Today's UX designers face new challenges every day because technology is always evolving. Now that we have virtual reality and everything, there's also a UX designer for that specific genre. So it's really fascinating to see how many different areas a UX designer can live in that is outside of just the standard everyday practice that we currently do, at least here.